right, I think we are live on Tuesday night. It is Dr. Boz. Welcome, everyone. I am super excited to share with you my night. Not only do I have a really fun guest that I'm selfishly super excited to talk to, but I have a week where we are doing another, another moment of sharing the entrance, the front door, as I like to call it, to getting into the online course. We're going to start like we do every week, which is to check my numbers. And I am 24 hours about into fasting this week. I had a can of sardines last night while my husband cooked out for one of the boys didn't go home back to college, so we cooked some steaks, and it was really hard to say no to the steaks and say yes to the can of sardines. But I do know that when I have my best performances of making my brain work late at night, they do happen when I don't put so many calories in late at night. So I had a can of sardines. So blood sugar 75, ketones are 2.0. And I'm going to show you one of my favorite drinks as I walk through a couple things. So my cup is empty right now, but I am going to put a scoop of BHB in, and I'm going to put some bubble water in of Perrier. And I'll tell you that I don't often use BHB when I fast, but if you're looking for one of my favorite treats that is very keto, like the real kind of keto, is I will add some bubbles to my powder, and we are going to have a great show for you tonight. It's like a super treat, though, especially when you're fasting. Like anything with bubbles in it makes life better for me. And I am definitely on my way to that zone. If I can get through tonight, tomorrow will be a great day, and I'll probably hit my goal for the week. So I have a couple of announcements. I'm just going to make sure, look at all the folks that are saying hi. I hope you can hear me in both ears this week. We did have a new microphone, and last week I had it set to the wrong setting, so you could only hear me in one ear. So I hope you can hear me on both ears. And I am, again, very excited that this week we are launching the online course. We're going to talk about some of today I did the interviews for how many, for the several people around the Tampa area that I'm asking to be part of the support group here in Tampa. So we are going to start those as a way for me to demonstrate how I start a support group. And then anybody who has bought the online course, Consistently Keto, can dial in live and really watch how I do this. You can ask questions of the folks that are selected to be in the first support group. And hopefully, if volume is low, good to hear that. I'm just going to turn it up and see if that racks anybody else's ears. Oh, I know what the other thing is. I need to scooch this a little closer to me. That was the other mistake I was making last week, is it wasn't quite, volume was very low. So let's try this. We'll see if the volume is a little better when I get my mouth closer to the microphone. So the other part of kind of casting the net and asking people to come to a support group is you wonder, will anybody show up? So today we had a Zoom interview and had excellent response of people who could come in to the support group, and they are looking forward to 5 weeks together. And again, it's a free support group that I lead here in my community. When I was in South Dakota, I did. If anybody wants to watch that support group, it's the bonus episode for the online course. And this week is the last week where the online course is only $297. So again, we're going to talk a little bit more about that and how I expect you to use that to the utmost as an utmost resource for you. So before I get to my guest, I'm going to do a few things that I have been trying to be traditional about. So one of them is that I am showing you the website here, bozmd.com. I do want to scroll down and show you this is the course that I'm talking about, and it is ever ready, meaning it is what I use to teach my patients to become consistently keto. It is the steps, and it really matches up with the workbook. For those of you that have taken the course before, we are updating all the handouts in there to really be a much tighter fit with the workbook, so that the images are a little clearer. And the outcome for matching up if you listen to the audiobook or however it is that you take the information in, that you can find that a little better. My favorite place on this website, though, is the reviews. These are the people who have taken the course, and I just think it's this hidden secret, unless you've clicked through some of these awesome reviews for how people have used the course, how they have been stuck and found a resource that really does help them advance through the process. And you can hardly find one of the reviews on here that doesn't at least give you some parallel for where people come in from all walks of life, and how much it's really changed their health, which is, again, my full mission. The other things that I like to stop and do is each week I remind you that I am a I'm going to see if I can make this a little smaller so it fits into that. It might not work. I am a self-published author, and it is something that is difficult to do, and the marketing team isn't behind you. But I do really appreciate those of you that take the time to write a review for the books. It's really how I get to hear more about who reads them and how they impact. One of the weirdest things about writing a book is you never meet your audience, or you rarely meet your audience. So I'm just going to read this one because it was awesome, and it came in just 2 days ago. I just finished reading Any Way You Can by Dr. Boz. Truly an amazing book written from her heart, very informational and written to be understood by anyone. I'm on a journey to heal my body and protect my mind. This book was the missing piece. I am a full-time care provider for my mom, who is in her late stages of vascular dementia or Alzheimer's. It's beyond hard at times to watch a loved one go through. I have lipidemia, which is a condition which one's adipose fat in their body, their fat cells don't empty as well. I've been on my health journey since 2020, but turned up the heat March 2021, and again since reading this book. I've implemented her teachings and low carb, and behold, I was able to break through the plateau that I've been stuck at since August. Her desire to share a new way to think with the public and the medical community is felt in the pages of this book. So thank you very much for writing that, Anne. This is not an uncommon story where people really do have the answers inside the stories of the books that I've written. I'll tell you that Keto Continuum was the book that I wrote this past year. It has been suggested on one of the keto polls as one of the top keto books for the year. I think we were in the top 4 the last time I looked. So if you haven't voted for that, we do have a link that you can I think you have to share your email to vote on this particular thing, but we would love it if you vote in the support and support the book. I love how this book says, do not let the 500 plus pages scare you. This is a fantastic book. The large print and illustrations make it a fast read. I read it in 3 days, and I've been doing keto and intermittent fasting for 5 years. I had a great success my first year, and then I plateaued, and I've been frustrated ever since. My blood sugars have been creeping upwards. Thanks to Dr. Boz's book, I've implemented the Keto Continuum process, and my blood sugars and weight are decreasing again. Yay! Her explanations are so visual and easy to understand. I learned more from this book than the 20 other keto books I've read over the past 5 years. That is such an awesome review. Thank you. That gives me goosebumps, Mary. I appreciate those who take the time to write that. So as I look forward to this week is the final week where you can get into the Consistently Keto online course for the lower rate. And I thought I would share with you one of my favorite people that I've met in Florida so far. She was in Florida and actually was a great welcome for me in the state of Florida. One of the things she did was invite me to her conference of this past weekend, and it was actually last week, and I just found a room full of people that are really serving the community of Florida. And boy, that just wakes up my heart. That is truly what I I know that whatever chapter I do next, this thread of being a servant to my community is what I need to stay energized. It is a very it was a very big privilege for me to be introduced to the people that are serving mainly children that have parents that aren't in a place that they can take care of the kids. And these Christians and these areas of service are an inspiration to me. So with that, I am going to introduce my friend and hopefully about to be long-term colleague, Robbie. Welcome to the show, and thank you for saying yes to coming on to the show. It is a great honor to have you as part of this show. Could you start by introducing yourself, but also the organization that you have been running for several years?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Boz. What a privilege to be here to help your audience understand what a great course the keto course is. I loved it. My name is Robbie Smith, and I'm the co-founder with my husband of Safe Harbor Boys Home in Jacksonville, Florida. Hallmark made a movie about us called Safe Harbor. Nancy Travis played my part, and I thought it was pretty funny.
That's
She did
awesome.
a good job.
Oh, that's awesome. I have not seen that yet, but I'm totally going to look that up.
It's a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, well, perfect. Your whole story is a Hallmark story. You take these boys who come from distressed homes or places where I raised 3 boys. I know exactly what it's like for teenagers to be a handful, and in a place where if you just don't slow down your life, you can instantly see the rails head in the wrong direction. And you give them a boat. Explain to people what happens as they come to your safe harbor.
It's a boys' home on boats, and if you think of an old-fashioned children's home with cottages, we have a marina with boats, and every boy gets his own boat to live on and work on. And as he repairs his boat, he is repairing the fabric of his life here. And hopefully pretty soon through a constantly keto diet. I'm working on that.
Well, yeah, one of the ways that we got connected was you were looking for improvement of your health, but also I think, especially as I got to know you a little better over this past conference and all of the people in your circle of influence, is they're always looking for ways that how could you heal their hearts, their minds, their spirit, their bodies, and they're teenagers, so they're actually a fast heal compared to most of the internal medicine patients. But having a life of that a bit of chaos that is not uncommon that happens before they end up in a place where they need your help, but also that the food isn't always talked about. There'll be doctor's appointments and there'll be referrals, but as you say, well, yeah, we'll put stable meals on, but addressing the food can be very like this afterthought that is, oh, how does it fit into the budget?
Oh. Correct. And I've been working on that for several years since I found you and took the Consistently Keto course and run our own support group here at Safe Harbor and have had quite a few people do really great work with their health here. So we're delighted to be able to try to find a grant source that understands what we're trying to do. I don't think it's going to be the health insurance companies.
Right, yeah. The day that you're depending on the government or the health insurance to do the right thing when it comes to nutrition, we all should just fold in. Well, share with you, because we could really go down the tangent of what you do for the boys in your community, and I would be selfishly enjoying every minute of that. Again, in my work in South Dakota, that was a huge part of where my extra energy always went, was to try and find a way to connect to those who just need the service. But tell me about your personal journey on to keto. How did that come about?
Ooh. Well, I started actually February 5th of 2019 on our wedding anniversary, 48 years that year. And my husband had had a stroke and seizures and kidney stones. And at the last doctor's appointment, they wanted to put him on insulin that was injectable. And I knew that we were going down a really bad rabbit hole. And I had been poking around about how I could help him. So we had a married people talk, and he said, I'll do it if you just tell me what to do.
Oh, that
So
sounds
that
like a
was
great husband.
that was a great challenge too, to make sure that I did the right things. And so when I found you, I knew that I had found, because I want to go to experts. I want to go to somebody that knows what they're doing. You had been there with your mom. You had been there with your patients. And so I started, and I actually have lost 80 pounds myself,
Wow.
cured my rosacea, cured my urinary incontinence, changed from a fat old woman that hated her body but knew inside I was youthful and had a lot of energy and love to give, but just didn't look like it. And I was sick of hearing you look so tired. And I didn't feel tired, but I looked tired.
Oh,
And so that's what keto has done for me.
wow. That is exactly where my mother had been stuck too. And again, she had access to every prescription I could give her. I could get her to the best specialist. I could go to the appointments with her, talk the language, and the human was just becoming this like walking corpse. It was the energy was gone. And as you know, in the book, I describe her as Mary Poppins. That's the woman that was inside, and it was hidden. It wasn't until I like to think it wasn't until the Holy Spirit woke up inside her mitochondria. That energy inside those inner cells really started to pulse and have a rhythm again. That she really did have the return of health, much like you did. I want to share a story. As I look around, I went to a room full of folks that don't know much about keto. This past conference, I kept getting told, they're not going to like what you're going to say. They're not going to like what you're going to say. And so I was really ready for that. But I remember looking around the room, and there were a few that were keto, but most inspiring was you could see the glow that you can see in your face right now as I look at you, but also that energy and the number of people that are attracted to that return of youth. I mean, they've known you for years. They've watched you in your life of service, and that's really what my speech was about, is your greatest asset is your health. And if you're trying to serve other people and your body isn't healthy, you're going to run out of energy. You're going to have the fail comes as all of us push too hard. But in that room, it was like this angel of youthful skin and very high energy. And as I delivered that message, it was like I could see you out of the corner of my eye saying, just keep going. I know this message is hard for them to hear. But if they can see examples of what does really hide underneath the foggy brain and the heaviness, those testimonies are far better than a prescription or the doctor says to do this. So answer me another question. Did you do great on keto the first time you started out? Did you have any failures, or did you start right out with the course? How did you do it?
Well, I had started earlier just by watching some videos, and then I took the course a little later in, but I didn't really start losing weight or noticing much of a difference, except I have never had a migraine since I started keto. And I had
really?
migraines weekly. Never, no prescription, no nothing. It's like my record was erased. But my husband's done well too. But I'm kind of different because I'm a bulldog. And when I commit to something, it's like I'm going to go 180 degrees in that direction. Now, have I had a few failures where I've been tempted? As I got 1.5 or 2 years in, the fake keto sweetness, and yeah, I did fail a little bit with that and gained a few pounds, but I recognized right away that was a really bad place to be. And I said, no, this is my lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's not something I'm just doing for a short period of time. This is who I am. I feel better, and this is what I want to be the rest of my life. So yeah, I started, but I've also had a couple fails on that regard, because you do get attracted to the sweetness sometimes, and you think, well, it'll be all right. For me, it's not, because I got to go 180 degrees one way or the other.
Well, isn't that the best though? When you have that trapped energy, is when I find that you can say, oh, doc, I did really well, but then I fell off. And the way we get them back to saying try again is to get them to remember how much better they did feel after that transition. So I just want to make sure that that this point is brought home, because I didn't know this, is that you have had migraines. This is, again, something I don't often talk about, but when I'm in a support group, I haven't had a support group yet where migraines weren't one of the subtexts for how much it changes that inflammation on the insides of a brain. And to watch someone with chronic migraines set free from what can turn into a 2 to 3 day just disaster. Like they can't think, they can't focus. I don't care how much willpower you have, the constant pain, the medicines will only do so much. And to say it's been wiped clean, it's not come back since you've been in a state of ketosis, that is people say, oh, it's not a sustainable diet. I will say it's way more sustainable than a lifetime of migraine headaches. So that's interesting. Were you on to the point where you had like prescription migraine medicines like sumatriptan or some of the Imitrex type medications?
Yes, I did.
So does the, let me see here. I want to see what's happening there. I think she's just frozen on her screen, and there is a way to fix this, but I think I have to refresh it.
Did my audio freeze?
Your audio didn't freeze, but your screen
okay.
is, so I don't know how to fix it right now. I could push refresh, but I don't know if that'll stop the feed. Well,
Don't want to stop the feed.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go into the chat, and if you want to hop out and hop back in, maybe we'll try that.
Try that. Okay.
All right. Sweet. Because there are a couple of things that I have. I'm going to brag about Robbie for just a second here. And one of them is that she was one of the first people that signed up for the course, took the online course, and then used this not only to help her own health, but as she was trying to help a very sick husband. As you heard, they'd been fighting illnesses that are typical of internal medicine, that should be in an internist office, where he had kidney stones, he had a stroke, he'd had, a list of medications that would be typical of any of my patients. And as she went through her own journey trying to improve her energy to take care of him, he has been able to, I think he was down 50 pounds is what I recall her saying, and has lowered his blood pressure, lowered his cholesterol. His brain is back to functioning. I don't know if it's 100%, but I met him over the weekend, and his humor is what I enjoyed the most, where he described his wife as much energy as she has. I just hang out in the wake of her energy, and it does sound like their 50 plus years of marriage. That's been a true and very helpful process for not just her to enjoy the benefits of being married that long, but to really have the privilege of someone who is not only in a moment of illness, but in the ability to watch a serious health problem where you've seen friends and family have to surrender. Let's see if I can get her. I'm going to try to fix her Zoom here just a second. I think, there we go. Yeah. Oh, goody. We got you back. I'm so excited. I got it to work. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now she's back on, and she can see me, and she can, hopefully the sound works. So I was just saying that how difficult it has to be when you went to work on your own health, 50 years of marriage, and watching a husband who had several major health setbacks. And I've seen it play out so many times where that individual is headed for high intensity care. And you can have it in home, or in your case, in a boat, or you can have it in a nursing home. But I think as the years, trips around the sun that we've taken, you watch to see how many people have to go through this season of life where their spouse is not cared for. So can you describe what happened as you kind of saw the successes with your own health, how that process transformed your husband's health?
Well, he has done very well. He lost 50 pounds thus far. He's off all diabetic medications. His A1C is very normal, down in the five range, 4.9 to 5.
Oh my goodness,
Um,
that's awesome. That's really good.
yeah, so he's done really well. He's very tempted. He's got a real sweet tooth, so he's very tempted by, forgive me, what I call the fake keto stuff.
Yep,
So
that's
I have to watch that. But as long as I only put good, healthy things in the refrigerator, that's all he eats.
that was a good husband. Yes, as any woman who's been doing the journey of marriage, there are certain rules, and if you can just make it easy for them, there's a lot more success. You know, the other struggles that have happened is when you have a family around you that doesn't want to be keto. So in your organization, you have not just one family, you have families that come in and go out as part of your organization. So can you describe how your influence and your husband's improved health rippled into your staff?
Oh, yes, that is the most exciting thing. Together, we've lost 2 people, 200 and between 16 and 19 pounds. We have one that's still dropping almost half a pound a day, just about.
Wow.
But yeah, they're doing really great. And part of that, your course outlines how to do a support group and living your life in front of people, but being accessible and being able to tell them about your journey and what it's been for you. And that's what I've done here. As the boss, it's kind of hard for me to say we're going to do a support group here, but it's naturally, organically happened because we all support each other and we're at different levels. One started about 5 months after I did, and then another about 6 months later. And so it's just kind of rippled through, and it has been awesome to help all of us and to help the staff learn to help the boys. So now when they're thinking, okay, if they're going to have a snack on a Friday afternoon when they've been out running and boating and doing all kinds of activities, they're thinking more what's healthy, what's protein based, what's, maybe a little bit of some cheese and things like that, not cookies and crackers and cake.
Which is like the easy way to say, if you're going to look at distressed, I thought that was one of the hardest things to watch in any of the places where I would serve, is the quickest reward for these kids was these high processed carbohydrate, and they were, oh, we can put them on the shelf and they last forever and they fit the budget. And I'm like, oh, but you are not helping them. And it's so easy though. So as an organizational leader, that is such a unique perspective to see, yep, it is cheaper, but you'll pay the price. So as you look, there was another woman at the conference who was part of your team. So how long was she one of the first people that followed your example? And
yes, that was my office manager, and Leslie, she followed me about, I think it was about 3.5 or 4 months in, as she saw me. I wasn't losing a lot of weight right up front, but I was dropping enough, and I wasn't having migraines, leaving the office, being sick. And I had energy because we were a little short staffed at that time, and I was working probably consistently 19-hour days, my job and house parenting. And then my house parents came on. So Leslie did really good. She just saw what I was doing, started asking questions, and then we all kind of followed suit, and it snowballed. And it became its own internal support group without me having to say, this is what we're going to do, because it's good for all of us.
So I think the other part that you've done a great job as is you took that course and then you just helped your staff not have to buy the course again, but really have access to the information by saying, here's a username and password. I don't want to have to be the one to teach you. And it's not that it's hard, it's that after you've said it so many times, that's how it feels to me anyway. But also sometimes it's a lot easier to just say, watch this 5-minute video on what you need to do to prepare. And then you've got the offloaded job of the education done by me at the time when your staff needed it. So can you share that? How many people do you think have used the course that you purchased?
Well, I know probably at least 10 or 11, whether they've all exactly followed it.
Right.
But also, I've had several of our boys that their families, when they saw me and they would come back for a visit 6 months after their child was here, they're like, wow, what happened to you? And then I could share with them too. So that to me is where your heart is. And I love you for that because, I can share what you have taught me, and I know that I'm sharing the right things with them, and that then they will get a good start and be able to manage their health from there. And to me, that's important, is to give good quality information to somebody especially when they're trying to start. I think a lot of fails are because they don't have the good information. And I think your health is worth anything. I would have paid 100 times what you charged me for the course. Sorry, people out there. But I would have, because I'm serious about getting healthy and staying healthy. I have an elderly mother. I have a husband. I have all these boys and their families to take care of. And I got to be healthy. And I wasn't on that path.
So it just makes, that is absolutely where my heart is, to say, people say you could reach so many more people if you decrease the price. I'm like, I don't want that. I want the people who are influencing others to be attracted to, here's a process, because a course alone isn't going to change their behavior. A course alone with somebody who's exampled will do that. There's actually somebody who wrote in, and I know that it's been a difficult challenge trying to get boys who sometimes are with you for a few weeks, sometimes for a couple of years. She says, have you noticed when you did do keto, was there any impact on their behavior? So have you had personal experience with that?
Oh, yes. We have better thinking brains. We have brains that, because we use a clinic that does some spec for some of our boys that are more resistant, and that it's not just truly behavioral. And we have boys that are in the Marine Corps now that are still trying as best they can to follow the keto because they saw what it did here. We have boys that want to fast before they're ready. And so now I can say, no, you can't. You have to follow this path. You have to take my 6-week class before, which is your 6-week class.
Right.
But it's a part of processing and training. And yes, that behavior is different because they're thinking clearer. Their bodies are healthier. We do jump rope.
Oh, yeah.
Now, yes, we do jump rope here, and we keep a chart, which helps, as you well know, mood and memory and things of that nature. And so when you're trying to learn something new therapeutically, if you don't remember it, doesn't do you much good.
Yeah.
So yes, it is an awesome answer to some resistance from behavior.
That also is the other thing that I loved whenever I would put, so I've been through this cycle too, where you have a group of kids that are I called it the shelter, but it had many names, but shelter seemed to just cover what was going on. And you would have, all you really needed was to help one boy. And again, most of my pods that I was associated with were male units. But if you could improve the life of one boy, that peer-to-peer influence, you would spread, just like when they do bad behavior or behavior that's wild and intense and unruly. When you had somebody who was positive and was able to get up in the morning and had energy and would beat them down the basket. They loved basketball in the place that we were at. When you had that one kid who was doing strikingly better, he would attract the next one to do it better. And it took that kind of capture of that improvement for one to then spread throughout a group. And I mean, there's only a few times in probably the 6 years that I was really intensely involved with that where you could see that you really got the wave of it trickling through all the boys, because it's a tough thing. I mean, anybody who's raised teenagers knows, but if you've ever spent time where their life has been disrupted and you're trying to help give some foundation, now we're going to take away sugar. That's so not fair, but it really did make a difference. If you look at any of the pushbacks, you said that your husband has struggled with sweet tooth, but when you've looked at staff that have, I think you gave an example where some of them has started, fallen off, and then come back to it again. we had talked about maybe a one-room schoolhouse where some people are at the fasting level and some people are just at the beginning, or maybe it's at the restart. Do you see that impact on the culture for your community?
Oh, yes. And that is the best thing in the world about a support group is you have those who are the grandmas or the teachers, if you're talking about this one room school, and then you have the seniors, and then you have the little middle schoolers, and then you have the little babies that are just coming into first grade. It is awesome because the middle schoolers can answer the babies' questions, and then the high schoolers can answer. And then you just get to answer the tough questions as you are pretty much the leader if somebody has a concern. And, I appreciate that about the neuron community, which is part of the class if you do. And that is such a great place because you have experienced people that can help the people that are newbies and don't understand or have a question. It must save you from answering at least 1 million questions every 2 days.
It's totally, it was a survival thing. At the time this was coming out, if it wouldn't have been for the neurons, I couldn't have done it. And again, I think it's that one room schoolhouse impact. And I don't know if anybody watching remembers one room schoolhouses, that it does have this kind of, again, a pulsing personality that happens inside a one-room schoolhouse, where when you get some really good diligent students, you can see the improvements their lives have. And at all times there is someone you can teach. I mean, even if you're the first kid in the door, within a day or two you can teach someone else. And I just think that responsibility of repeating what you just learned, teaching another person. I've had several healthcare workers that said, how do I get better at this? And I said, here's the best thing. Go into the neurons group and just be the one who's answering the question for about 4 days. And watch what it is that you get. And if there's problems, the people that are the champions within the neurons group, they aren't advanced practitioners. They are people who've just watched me answer questions, because the same questions come again and again and again. It's just that you can't sometimes hear it until you're in a place where the answer means something to you. And now somebody else can apply their knowledge to you. And that process really changes, not just how did you absorb the information, but did you apply it, and can you remember it in a time of stress, which really to me is how you stay consistently keto, is not just to have multiple choice answers and you've got the answers right, but you can apply them and do them when your body's not always on the same page as you.
Absolutely. I agree with that, because those are the times when it really counts and you really need to be keto, is when you're going through a stressful time.
Yes. So speaking of stress, the other person I wanted to touch on is that you've had a mom who's struggled with some memory problems. And we've talked a lot about the Consistently Keto course, but I think one of the other places that you were very interested in was when brains don't work right. Your mom's memory problems didn't show up last week. They've probably been brewing for several years. So as you look at your trajectory for your health and your brain health, and do you have any improvements that you've seen since you've been keto that might have been, it's really hard to reflect. Am I getting dementia? Am I having memory lapses? Is my brain working right? But I've found that especially people with a family history, like they're watching a parent go through it, they'll say, boy, I didn't want to admit that there were a few things I was slipping on, but they can see it improve after being in a state of ketosis. Do you find that might have happened in your case too?
Oh, yes. When your body is fat and inflamed and you took a fall and your knee hurts for 2 years, and then one day you wake up after being keto for 9 months and you go, oh, my knee doesn't hurt. You know that things are changing, and so you start paying attention to that. And my brain fog has lifted, where I would do things out of just rote memory instead of having a passion for doing them or having a new thought or idea. It's just, well, this is the way we always, and I think that's how people get stuck. This is the way we've always done it. But I definitely know my mother's health problems for many years have propelled me to not want to be in that place. And I think that my brain is functioning really well. I do constant learning, which I know is a preventative for Alzheimer's, is new learning, exercising all those neurons in your brain,
Yes.
helping all of that. So I would say yes, just, not trying to say, yeah, my brain works really
Right.
great, but I think it does.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, the world of being in that situation of constantly having the stress of kids that are in trouble, they're in a place where they really need help. If I have looked at the hardest, maybe the rate limiting factor for a good program, it's how well can the leadership stay healthy as they serve. And of course, that's what my talk was about when I was standing in front of you and your colleagues last week, how important it is that even when you're struggling in the first few months of keto, to watch and see the weight come off, to see the energy, like you said, from the inside come out through your eyes and your smile and your glowing skin. I mean, those things aren't just flippant. I think I saw several people compliment that over the weekend. Again, they get to check with you once a year or whenever these conferences happen, and then you go back behind the stressful walls of serving kids. And you see them age quicker, you see them put on weight, and once that starts to happen, the reverse button seems to be impossible to find. So your service to them is also, these are some of the things that I really find that I get energized by, and I pray for, because if I can help somebody who's doing as much good as you, that is truly what my heart is about. And I just want to say thanks for inviting me into your world and meeting the people in your community. I do have a gift that I was saving to announce on the show, but last week you had talked about you were starting to try and introduce to the boys what it looks like to be keto. And one of my favorite things for my sons, what my sons like, I'm going to put my earphones down and go grab it. Hold on one second. So this is my boy's favorite, which is the combo. It's got the MCT and the BHB in there. And I have a case of this that I was going to send to you for your boys to each of them get one on the boat. And that way, yes, that
Thank you.
The hardest part of sometimes helping with teenagers is, well, for heaven's sakes, they fall off the wagon whenever you're not looking at first. And it really does improve how they function, is how long they're off that keto wagon. I mean, I think that's true for any adult or teenager, but especially for teenagers. I think I've shared with a few people that I've made some bets with my kids, that they're teenagers and their mom gets to this zone of right after puberty where she doesn't know anything. But I've made bets with them saying, if you do this and this happens, then I win. And one of those was, if you drink this ketone powder for 5 days and there are less pimples on your face at the end of this 5 days. So that was my favorite one. But also just, there's behavior problems for every teenager, and especially when they get into they're pushing too hard, their sleep isn't long enough. And I'm really trying to fight on a chemistry level to say, I don't care if you're the best runner on the track team. I care that your brain development doesn't get blunted. And of course, I care that of the boys that you have, can I be a surrogate mother in a little way to say, let me help with some of the chemistry. So I would love to send you a case of that product for your boys.
Thank you. They will love it. They drink water like crazy because they all have to have 2 water bottles, one to lose and one to drink from.
Well, that's normal. That is totally normal. Well, God bless you for being on my show today, and especially for the work that you do. Again, one of my fears when I moved to Florida was, how will I find the community that really warms my heart that I got to work with in South Dakota? And still to get to travel back and do some of that work, but it will dwindle because I really do believe in serving the community that you're in. So I look forward to a long relationship of helping you help them and getting to know several of the other community members in your acts of service.
Thank you very much. And thank you for talking to us. I've already had 3 people contact me, want to know how they can start keto.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's good. We're changing the world one
Amen.
minute at a time.
Thank you, and have a great rest of your evening.
You bet. God bless you.
Thank you.
Well, that is one of my favorites, having a great way to improve the community, but also to support people who are supporting others. And again, as I broach, this is the month of October, and one of the things that happens after you lose a parent is that you remember what happened a year ago. And this was the time where my mother was entering into the hospital with COVID. And so it's been a week where being around people that are all trying to help their communities reminds me of my mother, reminds me of how much she served in her community. And as I continue to let her memories be present in what I do, it's how I keep the tears away, actually, to think it was a very difficult time. And only 1 year ago that tragedy happened, and to connect to people like Robbie and her safe harbor community is divine. It's God helping me get through to find other people that behave in the way my mother did. So we are going to give away some books tonight. I do want to do one last plug before I do that. I'm going to check numbers here in just a minute. That this online course will only be $297 through Friday at midnight. And as you can see, what I am hoping you do is that not only does keto get better in your life, that you learn the process, but that you share those educational videos, that access to people that you're trying to help. That if I help you and you help them, that is a great ticket to improving these small communities. As I've been reading some other leadership things, you do not need a tipping point at 51%. A tipping point to change our country and to change our healthcare is in the mid-teens. When you get that many people changing, it really does incorporate into your community. So please use this opportunity as a way to take my teachings, which are really organized in a quick, succinct way to get you through that one-room schoolhouse, whether you're just starting, you're preparing, you're just starting, you're trying to get keto adapted, or you move up into the fasting levels like I do. All of that will be a coordinated process, much easier than several of the ways that I've seen folks try to educate on this. I'm going to check my numbers here again. I do want to just show you that I did put all of this water in one scoop of my, let's see if I can get that, there you go. There we go. Anyway, almost all gone. But it's a great little trick, and it truly is keto. So as I look at my numbers at the end of the show, without too many technical problems, and then we're going to give away some audiobooks. Let's see here. So if you are watching this on the replay, those audiobooks will. Let's see if I can. All right, so first one is my ketone number, the purple one. And then the second one is my glucose. And again, the reason I do this is there's a whole bunch of products out there that don't change numbers, that it's always a little bit of a, so as I wondered actually if that strip wasn't going to be good. That when I tested before and I had a 2.0, I actually think there were ketones on my finger. I'm going to retest that because that is the 75 is about where my sugar was, but I think I should have retested it at the beginning when the ketones were 2, and this one is, I'll see if it gets a better reading. I'll be honest, it doesn't feel like I have a ketone of 2, and that's why counting it down to 76 and yeah, 2.5. Well, maybe it is right. So 2 out of 3. I have been doing a lot better. I haven't been cheating for a while. Last week I did a bunch of extra long days, and especially when I'm at the office, there's no chance for me to cheat. So maybe that is how good it is after one 24-hour period. Is a 2.5, 76 and 2.5. So that's a really good ratio. So a few other things. I did want to answer a couple of questions here. The one that says, my daughter has suffered migraines since being rear-ended in a traffic accident. I wonder if keto would work for her. You know, one of the issues and one of the things I teach in the online Brains course, which again is meant for organizations to teach their staff, their kids, their youth groups how to improve brains, is that a trauma, which is what happened in that car accident to your daughter, where the head hits the inside of the brain hits the inside of the skull, it causes swelling. That same swelling is caused when we live on a constantly sugar diet. It's just at a microscopic level. When people lose that weight the first week of keto, what they're really doing is wringing out a lot of that inflammation and excess fluid. When you look at people who have a chronic pain in their brain, it's not fake. That absolutely happens when people are stuck in a cycle of not improving that inflammation, of not reversing that swelling. In the online course, we talk about how a concussion, which is a physical injury and very easy for us to understand, is a common analogy for the trauma that happens when our brains swell due to alcohol or swell due to constant diabetes. When you reverse the swelling, the pain goes away. And again, just like in Robbie's case, most people have surrendered that this is just how I'm going to have to live. And pain coming from the brain, that is a huge signal that says there is something wrong. That's not normal. Unfortunately, with the prescription medications, which I've written many of, we lead that to opiates or narcotics. And even ibuprofen is a start, but you'll end up with, how do we get the pain to go away? And when you shut the pain off, it shouldn't come back. But that only happens if there is removal of the swelling that's associated with it. So would keto help her? I don't know her, but there are many stories out there of chronic pain from the brain, whether it be from trauma or in like Robbie's case where she had chronic migraines, that once the chemistry reversed, she was like, why does my knee not hurt anymore? And the answer is the inflammation is finally getting reversed at that deep of a cellular level. All right, let's give away some books really quick. And again, I will say that process of giving away books, I didn't have let's see if I can pull up Keynote here. There we go. I didn't have the privilege of having that organized last week, and I felt really badly about that. So for those of you that are regulars, you know that this is how the game works. You're going to go to one of those URLs, either the audible.com.uk/ACX promo or the sorry, I said that wrong. Do what is said on the slide, not what I just said. Either audible.co.uk/ACX-promo or audible.com/ACX-promo. One is for the global market and one is for the United States. We're going to give away 4 books, 2 of Any Way You Can and 2 of the Keto Continuum. And that global market one is, are you ready? Here's the code. It is J2RTT7QRSN7FF. And the one for the United States is YKUGUZ4ZP4XZP. And then we are going to do the Keto Continuum. This is what my students that are coming to the support group starting next week will be following. And for those of you that want to watch along, purchasing that online course before Friday at midnight gets you access into the live streams. And even if you're watching this on replay and it's months later, if you buy the course, you can watch those recorded events. But if you're in for the live events, you can ask some of the guest questions and see if we can get to know them and help them on their journey. So again, Keto Continuum on Audible for the global market. If you type this promo code into that website, you can get a free book. That promo code is XZL7YG2EA4MAX. And the US market is 6FN WLEX2PBAWF. All right, so once again, for those of you that are watching this on replay, I will have my guests, or I will have the link to the course in the notes below. But I also want to see if I can get my cursor back here. I also want to tell you that the video at the end here I will link to is that contest I had with my son where I bet him that he couldn't, that he would have less pimples 5 days into taking that keto supplement. The experiments I do with my sons are sometimes worth recording. This one was one of those. All right, I am Dr. Boz signing off. I will see all of you inside the course for those of you that sign up, and I look forward to getting to know you and helping you through your keto journey. We are reversing medical problems here on the Dr. Boz channel through healthy keto